The Luann Dummer Center for Women was started in 1993 by a special bequest from Dr. Luann Dummer's estate. Dr. Dummer came to the University of St. Thomas in 1971 and was a professor for 21 years. She was a pioneer, making possible a place for women at St. Thomas. She was known for being smart, determined, and making things happen with humor and style. She drove a flashy sports car and wore black tennis shoes. And she is a true example of one person making a difference.
I think the interesting thing about the founding is that no one really knew what Luann's intentions were. What we knew is that she gave us this wonderful gift, and in her will, she just said that there should be a women's center.
We had been talking at the University of St. Thomas for some time about a women's center. And it was always, there's no money, there's no space, there's no time, there's no yada yada, all that sort of stuff. I think Luann had this in the back of her mind, and Luann made it happen.
She is a symbol of feminist thinker and a person with a passion for social justice.
One of the wisest things that Luann did was to have Pauline Lambert serve as the person who was going to get it off the ground. Pauline at that time was probably the most savvy and certainly the most powerful woman on campus. And she managed to enable us to have a center that was, at that point, right in the center of campus, not on the margins, as so often women's centers are.
We worked with an architectural firm in St. Paul here. We asked specifically to have a young woman work with us. Her name is Tracy Boyle, and she did a wonderful job. And with her, from the same firm, was a young interior designer whose name was Ann Bockelman.
One of the major assets of the center is the art collection.
The art collection is important in part because some of the pieces came from Luann. And that was really the beginning of the collection. And then Pauline and the initial directors of the center purchased more.
For me personally, I met so many amazing artists through those exhibits, and in my home I have art that I purchased during that time, and it just felt so wonderful to purchase art from these women artists, and I know a lot of people on campus did that.
On the wall here you see a brass rubbing, and this too was something that we purchased from the estate.
The art in the center really is beyond what's in the center itself.
People come in just as they are. They can relax and connect with other fellow students, faculty, and staff. So it's really a safe, welcoming space.
The artful space, with its library, interesting art, and comfortable seating, is used by faculty, staff, and students for a variety of purposes: book clubs, safe space, classes, meetings, a knitting group, and a meditation group. Everyone comments on the warm atmosphere.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. And welcome to our regular meeting of the book club.
If women's studies is our intellectual home, then the Luann Dummer Center for Women is the most important room in the house, really, then, which to me, I always think of it as the living room.
The Luann Dummer Center for Women addresses the needs and aspirations of women through sponsorship of a wide array of speakers and events. The center sponsors the Luann Dummer Lecture Series, featuring distinguished women speakers during March Women's History Month. The past 20 years have produced an impressive list of feminist speakers, from world leaders to social justice activists to academic scholars and authors.
I think on our campus in particular, our Women's History Month speaker is a really big event. I know I have colleagues from other departments, faculty and staff, who really look forward to that event. They wouldn't miss it. I know there are members of the community who look forward to that event who wouldn't miss it. So I know that it has an impact on people who attend, and I think that we have very few opportunities in our culture to hear women's voices, and that this particular event, the March Women's History Month speaker, is that kind of opportunity, and I think the Women's Center provides those kinds of opportunities a lot.
I think my favorite speaker in the Dummer series of speakers probably is Carolyn Heilbrunn, the first speaker. And she was very special because she had, she was a professor of literature at Columbia, so she had that in common with Luann. And then she was also a mystery writer under the name of Amanda Cross, and Luann loved mysteries, so she had that in common with her. I really like Gail Collins, who was a New York Times columnist, and who really gave us a very good overview of women in America, kind of the history of it.
Besides hosting major speakers for Women's History Month, there are many other programs that advance the mission of the center. Feminist Fridays, book discussions, Take Back the Night, and Yarn Tamers, to name a few.
My time at St. Thomas and going to the different lectures and speakers really did challenge me to think more critically.
I think I appreciate even more the Feminist Fridays or the chocolate receptions or the smaller events that bring people together around a different topic. It's the place where I get to meet faculty and students that I wouldn't otherwise encounter in my day-to-day happenings on campus.
The center also offers grants, scholarships, and awards for faculty, staff, and students.
It really meant a lot to know that it came from a program that I'm invested in. So it showed me that the faculty of the Women's Center and the people that go to the Women's Center recognize the work that I'm doing towards women's studies.
We really have to invest in the next generation. And so grants and scholarships really serve that need.
I think that type of support and that type of enabling students to do that is so important because it allows students to really invest in themselves and allows the institution to say, yes, we are investing in our students' future. We want our students to be academic scholars. And those grants, whatever amount they may be, are very important because they support that and they foster that learning experience.
This beautiful sense of space was important to Luann as she wanted to foster an intellectual climate with a women's center and for women's studies.
Be able to support that, to support faculty, to develop that in their classes, to support staff so they can have good conversations and do programming that's aware of gender difference, to help students understand the importance of the subject. It's essential to what it means to be a university in the 21st century.
It's important to reach out to diverse groups of women, both locally and internationally, because our lives are all connected.
I've just been very pleased and proud to be part of this center for so many years.
It allowed me an opportunity to really go into my roots and do my own personal research on Hmong feminism and Hmong women's history.
The Women's Center has a huge history behind it, and just being in that space has awakened my mind of what it means to live a legacy.
There aren't as many people around anymore who knew Luann or worked with her, and I feel so fortunate that I do. And it was just such a fabulous part of directing the center, is that you just felt her presence. And I think that the importance of telling the stories, and a lot of us do tell those stories, to keep it alive and keep her alive.
I always wanted to be called the Luann Dummer Center for Women. We need to remember that this is connected to the vision and the gift of a particular woman in our history. One of the first women who was a full professor at the University of St. Thomas, tenured professor, is highly esteemed faculty member, but we never need to become just the Women's Center or a Women's Center. We are a special place here, and it's because of the vision of Dr. Luann Dummer that we are what we are.